So as promised, I went back out when I noticed the rain was coming down a lot harder, and as you can see from that drain pipe, the storm drains were struggling to keep up. This was on the green lanes, it was overflowing. This is the green lanes looking north towards the bridge. And again, the green lanes flowing. At this point, the main surge of the water hadn't hit yet. So yeah, I was just noticing the difference between the first walk and the second walk. Here there's a lot more water, but not to the extent that's going to come over here later on. A lot of detritus and litter and nonsense is flowing down. This is the end of green lanes, totally flooded. Again, in the top of the picture there you can see the storm drain not coping and overflowing. Had a little bit of a stench of sewer here, so I was keeping my feet well out of the water. Crazy. Looking back from where I had just come and then turning towards the wetland. It was still raining pretty hard, but the main surge of the water hadn't yet reached the wetland yet, so it had been raining for about half an hour. And so that takes some time to accumulate and head down green lanes, but already between the first walk and the second walk this is already a noticeable difference. The tether that is holding the water monitor meter, the stake, is now completely underwater, you can see there, but still the moorhen is safe and sound on top of her water meter, and I think the chick and 2 eggs are underneath her, but still not really phased. Here you can see I'm pointing, and then also just pointing to litter coming down green lanes, which is where we get most of our litter in the wetland. The litter comes down green lane streams, unfortunately. That's a mallard family, still able to negotiate the inlet. So yeah, like I said, between the first video and this video, the water levels have risen some. I'm just pointing out more litter that has come down green lanes. There's a football there, and here comes the football between, or down the channel between the sediment pond and cell 1. So, like I said, this is where we get all our litter. It's not people dropping litter in the wetland, it all comes down green lanes. And this is cell 2 by the new green bridge. So what I'm pointing at here is the old bank, and this is all new water that's gone over the bank. So that reed line there is the normal edge of cell 2, and you can see it's flooded beyond that. You'll see in a sec when the surge comes down how much more water is lying on the left hand side of those reeds where I'm pointing now. That's massive. So it's almost like an overspill. And there, as you can see, more litter down the, or through the wetland, should I say. And again, more litter. It's a real problem. So this is not bad yet, but you'll see in a sec how bad this gets. This is backing up. There's much more water coming out of the wetland. So as it joins the Hogsmill here, it almost creates like a little barrier. So the water coming out and the water coming down the Hogsmill hit each other, and the Hogsmill backs up. So this is the exit to the west of the new bridge, and this is looking back up westwards towards the wetland again. So a lot more water. Here's another storm drain that is overflowing. So this is just to the south of the wetland by the bench. You'll see I'll stand on the bench here and look in there, and there's just water billowing out that drain there. And I think that is, sometimes I've seen like wet wipes and nappies and all sorts of stuff there. It's horrible. So here is when I start noticing that there is a little bit more water coming down, and a bit more detritus and weeds and things floating down. And I think here I realize that that is the chick calling that has just been washed out the nest off the water monitor, and you can hear it calling in the background, unfortunately. So I did try and look for it afterwards, but it's just lost in amongst other moorhen chicks, unfortunately. And the moorhen adults weren't even phased. I think I was more worried about the chick than they were. So as you can see here, the water monitor and the nest is underwater, so the tether is too short, and it's been pulled underwater by the force of the incoming stream. So the nest is still on there, but it's at 90 degrees and it's almost about to be washed away. So here I actually film the nest actually washing off the monitor tube. There it goes, sadly. So I did see 2 white eggs float away along with the nest. So she was sitting on the old chick and 2 eggs. So you can see it's just been buffeted there. And now it's slowly, so this is now the main surge of the water coming in. Now you can see the difference between before and after. Look how wide this is compared to the first video. So that's the channel between Sediment Pond and Cell 1. It's crazy. And unfortunately this is where the moorhen chick got washed away. It did definitely make it to the edge, but of course then headed in the wrong direction. So yeah, nature is what nature is, I guess. So the water is really picking up now. And that's the exit into cell, or the entrance into cell 1. So there is a delay between the heavy showers and the water actually hitting the wetland. So now this is what I showed you before, where the edge was, and now the flooded bit beyond. You can see that there's so much more water in there now. I reckon a good 1.5 foot, 2 foot higher than it was before. So it's expanded. So this is cell 2. It's almost double the size, and you can see how strong the current is flowing through to exit the wetland. And here again, just a different view. You can see that, so the reeds in the middle there to the middle left is where the old bank used to be, and now completely flooded. And again, the exit. Masses of water just exiting the wetland here. So the wetland has been utterly flushed. Look at that, incredible. I mean, that's normally just a trickle through there at this time of year. And now a raging torrent. Again, you can see the diesel floating on top of this water, by the way, which is exactly why the wetland was put in the first place, to try and trap all that. So still incredible amounts of water, and again, the diesel. It's incredible how quickly the water came up and then receded in the space of me walking around the wetland twice. So yeah, incredible. And here comes our old friend, the football, in the wetland on the one side and out on the other in the time that I took to walk around. And again, just that flooded bit beyond on cell 2. Crazy. Heading back to the sediment pond. Still masses of water coming down. And in no time, the moorhen were back on the tube, holding up the water meter. At this point, they weren't rebuilding. I think they just figured the nest would still be there, but sadly it wasn't. So it's just sitting there, sadly. But you'll see in a little bit, they wasted no time in rebuilding. And here they're literally rebuilding 15 minutes after it got washed away, with the mallard family in the background. Here we go, adding more vegetation to the tube. And that thing has literally just washed away in the last 10 minutes. Not fussed that their chick is missing, just right back at it. And then 10 minutes later, this is the devastation left by the flood that went through. So You can see how much the water's receded as the grass has all been pushed down, and this is back at cell 2. You can see how much the water has receded already. So that all happened within the space of 15-20 minutes. Rose, flooded, and then dropped in no time whatsoever.